May 1st, 5/1, is DC Statehood Day, the day when district residents tell the country why it's crucial for DC to become the 51st state. So why is that? DC residents, American taxpayers, don't have a vote in Congress. Yet Congress, as we've just seen, can veto laws passed by DC government. That stops with statehood. Show your DC pride on May 1st.
Good afternoon. My name is Bruce Spiva, and I'm so delighted to be here today. Thank you, Franklin Garcia, for putting this together. I currently serve as the co-chair of the board of the DC Statehood PAC. I am also on the board of DC Vote, a 501c3 that advocates for DC statehood, and wanted to tell you a little bit about the PAC and how that came about. It's about 2 years old and has promoted DC Statehood Day, which both the council and the mayor have declared. We started it last year, May 1st, 5/1, symbolic of the 51st state that we seek to become. And it is going to, again, this coming Wednesday, May 1st, will be our second annual DC Statehood Day, which is a day that we want to encourage people to take action, even if it's just sending an email to friends and families around the country who have voting congresspeople and senators. We have a fine senator, two senators, shadow senators, but unfortunately, until we achieve statehood, they don't have a vote on our ability to become state. So we want to encourage people to reach out to friends and family, to use hashtag DC Statehood Day in their social media, so we can try to create a trend.
Hi, I'm Michael Brown. I'm one of the two United States Senators from the District of Columbia. And for the past 18 years, it's been my job to fight for DC statehood. And as Mr. Spiva pointed out, we've come a long way. We passed a bill twice in the House of Representatives. And in the United States Senate, we have 46 senators as co-sponsors. Now that's a lot of co-sponsors on a bill, and we worked very hard to get them. And in a lot of ways, we are closer than we've ever been before, but we have a problem. And our problem is that this battle is a partisan battle. Everybody that supports our bill in the House and supports our bill in the Senate are Democrats, with the exception of Bernie Sanders, who's an independent in the Senate. And that's something that we have to break through, because we need 60 votes in the Senate to pass the bill, or we need to do what is called suspend the rule. We need to shut down cloture and use a majority vote to get statehood, and we could do that. I mean, you would think if there's any reason to suspend the rule, it would be for something as basic as what Thomas Jefferson said was the most basic right of citizenship. So we're moving on both those tracks. We're moving on getting more co-sponsors on the bill. We're moving on talking to Republicans. I've talked to Republican senators about it. And we're also moving on the idea of maybe being able to pursue this and pass it with a majority vote.
My name is Jhirad. I'm a filmmaker, and I've made quite a few films, many of which have been on PBS. I mostly do historical films. I look at a situation that is maybe a dilemma, and trying to understand how it happened. And that's what happened with this film. I had been a resident of the District of Columbia for 32 years. And I didn't understand how it could be that there would be over 700,000 people and they didn't have representation in Congress and they didn't have real self-government. Because even though there's a mayor and a DC council, whatever legislation they may push through can be overruled with a strike of a pen by Congress. And so it was, then I began to read, I read quite a few books on this. And I read I think there's 6 federal enclaves in the world. And the other 6 of the other 5 have solved the problem of folks living inside the district of those federal enclaves, and to give them the right to vote. But DC is the only major democracy in the entire world where the residents don't have self-government or representation in the national legislature. So how could this happen? So I began making a film that was looking at these 4 turning points in DC from 1783 to today. And I saw that in each one, race was a central issue. That was one big thing that became clear. The second thing was at the beginning of the country, and there were big fights between the founders, between centralized and decentralized government. And as luck would have it, the Federalists were in charge for a while, but then when Jefferson was elected, the Federalists panicked and they pushed through legislation called the Organic Act of 1801, which basically disenfranchised the residents of the district. They could have local leaders, but they couldn't even vote in the national even for the president at that time. But so that was the first thing, and right away, as soon as that legislation came through, right away the district was compromised. And then I saw in a mayor, Seaton, and he was a mayor of DC for 1840, 1850. He happened to be in the Congress. His party was in opposition to the Congress, and right away they tried to undermine the charter for DC because of that. But at the last moment, that effort was tabled, and he proved to be a very good mayor for DC. Another turning point was during the Civil War, because the conservatives had left to form the Confederacy. So the progressives in Congress were able to push through quite a few progressive legislations for the district. And Sumner called it an example for all the land. And they abolished slavery, they allowed blacks to vote, and even to be elected to positions in government. But after the Civil War, as conservatives were coming back in, they were horrified at the thought of blacks voting. And other things happened, but they basically, in 1874, it wiped out all voting rights of residents of the District of Columbia, even local leaders, so from 1874. And that situation lasted for a century. They didn't have voting rights from 1874 to 1974. And so then you see the civil rights movement in the late 20th century. There are a number of leaders, including Marion Barry, Julius Hobson, Charles Bissell, and other leaders, pushed through, first of all, they got the 23rd Amendment to the Constitution allowing DC residents to vote in for the presidency. And secondly, they pushed through the Home Rule Act that allowed DC residents to have local leaders. But those leaders still can be overruled by Congress. So now there's a fight for statehood to achieve real self-government. So I think anyway, it's a long story, but I'm hoping that folks can see that this is something that the DC residents do not have the same basic rights that Americans in all the states have. And they see the monuments on the mall and they think that's DC, but there's 700,000 people who live and work here, and they deserve to have the same rights as other Americans. So I'm hoping that the statehood movement can finally overcome this dilemma and give DC residents the same rights as other Americans.
Hello everyone, my name's Hector Rodriguez. I served for 4 years as a combat officer in the United States Army for our nation. Today I am a political prisoner in the capital of freedom. For 200 years, veterans have been fighting and giving their lives for your families, for every family in the United States. over 1,000 veterans have died for freedom for the United States. And we, 4 years ago, put together the Veterans United for DC Statehood. We thought it was time that we organize and let you all know that veterans who fight for your kids, for the safety of your families, are not allowed to vote in the Congress of the United States. We will not ask any other citizen of the United States for permission to be citizens and to have our freedom. We fought for it, and you should support us all the way, just like we supported you.